Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker and today we shall be taking a look at the top 8 deck lists from Atlanta. This was an event at Charlie's Collectible Show. Hades, you wait right until as I start recording to start shouting and climbing up the curtains. I'm going to keep that in. Yes, this was an event from the other day. I'm a bit late to this party. This came out over 24 hours ago, but I was very busy yesterday and I wanted to make sure I got out my Fun Deck Meta Series episode 2. But today we'll be looking at the event in Atlanta. It was a $1,500 tournament. 54 players. Again, all my information here, as always, as usually, comes from the YouTube channel Phonetiic. So credit link down below. Please go check them out to see their analysis. But yes, apparently it was 54 players, unconfirmed how many rounds, at least that I've been able to find. And yeah, it was at Charlie's Collectible Show. But yeah, we got some really good deck lists to take a look at, so let's jump right in. Really like this list. We see 4 Archimedes, we see 4 Broom, and 4 of the Wayward Sorcerer Mickey. If you know my channel, you know my thoughts on Mickey. I'm not a huge fan of him, but that's specifically really in Ruby Amethist. I just don't think it's always necessary. But in this particular deck, there's a couple of reasons why I like it a little bit more. One, because you are, Mickey is the only card here that's doing a random ramp from the top of your deck. We see no one jumper heads. However, if you are hitting some of those more key pieces like your Hades, your Ursula, your Robin Hoods, your Queens, things like that, if you are accidentally banishing them or putting them in the inkwell from the top of the deck, then you have the ability to recycle your most important resources a little bit more. Although we do also see the 4 Yzma, so hopefully that contributes a little bit more towards turn 2 you put down Yzma, turn 3 you quest with Yzma to start, and then make sure it's the right card for Mickey to be putting in the inkwell from Get a Clue. So we see a lot of nice synergy here, and yeah, we see a high count of Broom package, which I like more in this deck. 4 Yzma, as I said, 4 Maleficent, we draw cards, we love to see it. Hades. We see 2 Rafiki, which I like 3, but I respect 2. I think that's perfectly fine, cool as well. I think that's just a preference, 2 or 3 Rafiki. 4 Mickey, as we said. We see 2 Jafar. Yeah, I like it in this. I can definitely see after you've got your initial ramp going, you are going to hopefully be retaining cards quite well, courtesy of the Queens, the high 4 counter Queens. If you manage to get a broom loop off, drawing cards of Ursula, you've got friends on the other side here. Yeah, I can see how Jafar mid to late game would have probably gotten a lot of value. We've talked about Mickey, and we see the 4 Queens here, which I love. I think this is a card that when people started first playing with Amethist, regardless of what color you were playing it with, it was like, oh well, this is drawing cards, this is really, and you can do it every turn, this is really good, right? And then it very quickly fell off, and I think in the last week or two, people are especially again, if you're playing Amethist and you're so used to getting your mirrors popped by beasts, getting a little bit sick of it. So it's another way of having a bit more reliable card draw. Obviously, this is with Sapphire, so there's not a LeFou or a Shield of Valiance here or anything, but just in general talking about the Queen, I think she's raised in popularity as of late. But yeah, 4 copies here, which we love to see. 4 copies of Maleficent Uninvited, love it. 4 Robin Hoods, 2 Scar. I think this is the one where I'm probably going to eat my words potentially the most. There's a few cards that when I first did all my reviews that I was slightly wrong about, and a couple I was very off the mark about in terms of how good I thought it was. And Scar is one that, as much as I love Scar, it's one of my favourite Disney villains. This one just didn't do that much for me. Even though I always gave credit to, if you're hitting for 5 strength, then that is taking out a lot of the meta at the moment. And again, I'm not taking away from the ability to get a nice momentum term off this and get the -5 on one of their characters, and then you take them out for free with pretty much anything. So yeah, it's not that I ever denied its ability to be useful in these situations. I didn't really think it was worth the card slot. But as time goes on, he is cropping up here and there, so perhaps I'm off the mark about Scar. But yeah, we see 2 copies here. I love to see 4 Ursula. This, absolutely the other way around. I always said how good I think this card is, and the only reason I'm not running it in Ruby Amethyst anymore is because that deck can have a really unreliable early game, and it wants to run so many uninkables as it is. So as good as Ursula is, it ended up just being more of a consistency cut. But in this deck, where you are ramping really quickly and really well, I love a big bulky 4 count. Absolutely, I can understand why Ursula put in a big shift here. Yeah, this is. I think this is the place for Ursula. Not Ruby. Amethist Sam. Words are so hard, man. I'm sorry. Amethyst Sapphire, I think, is Ursula's home. I think this deck really puts her to her full use. So love to see it. 4 Hades, of course. Absolutely. 4 friends on the other side. Very, very good. It's good early game card or even later in the game. You know, if you like, sometimes you find yourself just using that on your queen, just to get the extra card. Or again, you can use it on your Ursula. You can use it on your Scar. You know, plenty of targets here, so love it, love it, love it. We got 4 Let It Go for extra removal, and then again only 1 copy of Mirror, 1 copy of Cauldron. I would like the second Mirror, just because I really don't want to. I don't want to banish it. Not banish it. I don't want to ink it with Mickey from the top of the deck. And again, like item, there's not a lot of, like, I don't think there's any of this. Well, to be fair, I haven't looked through the top 8 list properly yet. I'm trying to like look at it for the first time in this reaction and get my natural reaction to it. But on my initial just saving the deck list, I didn't see any beasts. I might be wrong there. But nonetheless, they are about, so I would still like to see the second copy. But yeah, this deck looks really, really nice. Yeah, it seems like I was probably quite off the mark about Scar. But yeah, I'm loving seeing Ursula shine here. So yeah, congratulations to this person on a great list and a first place finish. Next up, we have Ruby Amethyst Control. 60 cards. It's important. I think that's an important thing to note with Ruby Amethyst decks because it's the most debated card count. 4 Archimedes. Perfect. Love to see it. We see 4 Broom and the 4 Mickey later on. Again, like, this is just a preference opinion I have. I'm not saying, oh, you're wrong if you're running the Mickeys. You just don't need them. I just personally have found in testing, I've done better in decks without them than with them. But again, it seems to be working for a lot of people. So 4 Mickey, full Broom package. 4 Gaston I love. 4 Maleficent. We see 2 Rafiki here. Again, I think this is another preference. I like 3. I just like that extra chance against aggros and Simbas and things like that. But this is only a 60 card deck. So that being the case, I think 2 Rafiki is probably right. 3 Aladdin, I think is fine. If you want to make a cut somewhere to make this 60, I think that's a fine cut to make. 4 Mickey, as we said. 4 Queen, I love to see it. And we'll go straight on to as well the 2 Shield of Virtue. I love that. I'm at 3 Shield of Virtue because I think just that combo is so strong, especially as like just extra reliance on getting to a card draw turn as well as just Mirror, which we do see a 2 count of. But yeah, 2 Shield of Virtue, 4 Queen, love to see it. 4 Maui, 4 Aladdin, yes. I really like only 2 Elsa, especially if you are playing this full Broom package. I'm just running the 3 Brooms and no Mickeys, and I'm still on 2 Elsa in my deck. But yeah, if you're running the full Broom package, I think absolutely 2 Elsa is the way to go. 4 Maleficent, we see 4 Be Prepared, well, we do see 4 Be Prepared, but we see 4 Dragon's Fire, is what I meant to say. I think 3 is fine, and I would probably... I'm floating between 2 and 3, and I think if you've got the full the full Mickey package, you could probably get away with a lower count. But again, in another sense, if you have like a higher count of them, there's more chance of you being from turn 5. You can, as long as you've got a steady board state and they don't have too many things already out, and you've been able to trade efficiently, then there's chance that you are able to sort of just go draw, ink myself to 6, Dragonfire. They put something else out, okay, draw, ink myself to 7, Dragonfire, and just deal with problems a little bit at a time until you get to those sort of like 7, 8, 9 sweep mark where Ruby Amethyst really starts to get into overdrive. So, yeah, I understand it. 4 friends on the other side, 4 Be Prepared, 2 Shield. I think you could go to 3. I would probably go to 3 Dragon's Fire and have an extra shield, but again, preference. 2 Mirror, I think 2 Mirrors, I think that's the right number. Only 1 Pocket Watch. I'd like to see a second Pocket Watch. That is the thing I would desire. I would probably go 3 Dragon's Fire and down to 3 Mickey and go to 3 Shield of Virtue and a second Pocket Watch, because I think Pocket Watch is just such a game-changing card. And again, as we all know from playing Lorcana, sometimes you get into situations where you just have to ink it. You have to be willing to part with cards you wouldn't want to, like Maleficents and Aladdins and things like that. Or Brooms, things you really don't want to be inking. And if you're in that situation with your 1 Pocket Watch, then that just takes those plays away from you for the whole game. So I really would like a second. But other than this looks really nice. It looks consistent. It looks like you get in the game a lot. And again, a hide Mickey package, so they should be able to... If you are going to run 60 cards, it's probably right to run a bigger Mickey package just so that you can compete in the mirror that are running the higher card count. Like, you get more odds of getting that Mickey turn off without it just constantly constantly being dragons fired before you get the chance to get something off, or or if sometimes if you want to get that momentum turn where you go Elsa, Mickey, Broom, that it takes a lot to get to that turn, and again your opponent's got to have a certain board state that allows for a Broom loop, so they need to have something with more than 2 willpower on the field. So lots to think about, but yeah, this deck looked really nice and looked very consistent. Looks like you get in the game a lot, so congratulations to this person. Next up, we see another Ruby Amethyst control. Once again, 60 cards. I love this count. 4 Archimedes, 2 Tibbs. That's what I'm on myself. Again, when I'm quoting my own decks, I'm floating between 65 and 67 cards at current. But yeah, a 6 is, I think that's the sweet spot. And we do see the 3 Rafiki later on. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Just, really strong against aggro and being able to consistently get them Simbas. We haven't seen any Befuddles so far, and I've ended up cutting Befuddles, and I've just moved to a higher count of 1 cost 2/2s and the third Rafiki. So I really like all those counts. 4 Brooms, and we do see the 4 Mickeys as well later on. Again, 60 cards. So I just spoke about how if you are going to run 60 cards, there's more of a reason to need to do this just so that you can compete with the higher card count mirror. 4 Queens. We see no Shield of Virtue. Let's go on. We'll come back to that. We see the 2 Aladdins, which again, I do really like Aladdin, but if you want to go 60 cards, then I think this is one of the cards that you kind of it has to be a cut, even though you do like Aladdins, because that you don't really want to be putting them down turn 3, but they're good just later, from turn 4 or 5 to at least put the potential for a shifted Aladdin onto the board, and it makes them play in a certain way, and just the fact that Ruby Amethyst control can go behind in lore count quite quickly, so by turns 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's nice to just put these Aladdins down and just get a little closer in the lore race. So, but I still think it's a fine card. We see 1 Jet Sam and no Goofies. Were there Goofies in the previous list? There weren't. Okay, that's fair enough. But we see 1 Jet Sam here. So really, this is a case of, I think Goofy is better against the mirror, and I think Jet Sam is better against pretty much not pretty much anything else, but the advantage of Jet Sam in its purest form is just that you can get it onto the field a turn earlier than Goofy, so that you can hopefully deal with opposing Tinkerbells, Pongos, Jet Sams, things like that. So a 1 count is, I think it's fine. I'm not seeing what I would cut for the second, really. Other than Mickey's, but again, I've talked a lot about how I feel about the Wayward Sorcerer Mickey. It's going to end up being my first Enchanted, isn't it? Don't get me wrong, I love Mickey and I love the art and all that. I just don't think it's needed in Ruby Amethyst. But again, I'm open to being wrong, and it's coming up a lot. So again, maybe I'm just wrong. But yeah, 1 Jet Sam. We see 4 Queens, no Shield of Virtue. We'll come back to that. 4 Maui, 4 Aladdin, love to see it. 2 Elsa, big fan of that, again, especially if you're running the full package. 4 Maleficent, 4 Dragon's Fire. Again, I think this could be a lower count, especially with a full package. 4 Friends, 4 Be Prepared, 1 Mirror, and 1 Cauldron. So that's the... No, it's not the same as the one before, but it's the same as the first place list, just 1 Mirror, 1 Cauldron. And again, it's just plays back into, Ruby Amethyst, like anyone playing Amethyst mostly, just experienced a good week or so of their items being constantly banished, so it became a matter of putting a bit more time into the Queen and her draw engine, and it's a matter of, okay, if I get the mirror off, then great, but if not, at least I've got the Queen, so from turn 5 I've got a draw engine there. We see no LeFou, and again, no Shield of Virtue. Yeah, no Shield of Virtue, I think is... I mean, they want to stick to 60 cards. And I do like the 4-2 Archimedes Tibbs. I like most of these counts. I just think Shield of Virtue is too good, especially if you are only going to run the 1 mirror. Then I think you want a little bit more out of that potential Queen draw engine. And again, it's just so good for extra Aladdin plays, and stop and in the mirror, making it harder for them to wipe your board, make them need the Elsas. So I think Shield of Virtue is such an important card. So yeah, interesting. But again, other than a couple of key cards I mentioned there, it looks clean. It looks like you do get into the game a good amount of the time. So congratulations to this person as well. Next up, some people are fuming. The Ruby Amethyst haters are skipping all of this. Fourth place, we have another Ruby Amethyst control, and this is the toolbox version, because there are, as far as I'm concerned, if you're running 65 or more cards of Ruby Amethyst, it's toolbox. I'm setting the rules right now. There you go. If it's 65 or over, it's toolbox control. If anyone said who, Lorcana Villains said so, and they'll go, who? And you'll go, don't know. Anyway, we see 3 Archimedes, which I don't think is low, but we do also see the 3 Olaf. So, okay, I like that count of, again, I just said I like the 6 1-drops. So, yeah. I personally, I'd like to know the logic here. Because if there is a logic, I'm like, what's it specifically helping against or for? I'm not sure. We see 4 Brum, we see 4 LeFou, and again, no Shield of Virtue, but at least there is a 4 count of LeFou here, so fair enough. Although we see a high item count of other things. We see 4 Ursa's Cauldron. Don't get me wrong, I was running 3 at one point, because I honestly think, like, if you get Ursa's Cauldron down by turn 2 or turn 3, it changes, like, it's so game changing. Like, just being able to manipulate your draw, make sure that you're drawing inkables when you need them, and the cards you, like, I just think Ursa's Cauldron is so good. So I did go to a 3 count. I brought it back down to 2, because I thought it was probably, it became a matter, I was pushing it a bit. But my friend with a 4 count of Cauldron, cool. I do like it. Like, I don't know if I agree with it, but I like it. 4 Maleficent, 4 Rafiki. My friend all the way in. Interesting. I need to count these uninkables. We see 20 uninkables. Okay, but again, a 68 card deck, so if you're going to go with that, like I have said many times, I think Ruby Amethyst needs to play between 16 to 20 uninkables, and if you are gonna filter into that range and the high end of it, then you need to have the higher you want to have the higher card count so you get a better percentile. So yeah, we see 20 uninkables. Where was I? Yeah, 4 Rafiki, 2 Aladdin. Again, you know, I've said if you were like, even this person could be at 66 cards and not run Aladdin, but they've chosen to say no, Aladdin has use. It's still worth slots, so I like it. Only 3 Mickey. Cool. 4 Queen, again, no shield, but 4 LeFou, more forgivable. 4 Maui, 2 Ursula. Again, I talked recently about Ursula and Ruby Amethyst control. I think she's so good. I've always said I think Ursula's brilliant. I was at a 2-3 count at one point in my Ruby Amethyst playing. But again, I just think Ruby Amethyst has such a dodgy early game, and you're already pushing it in terms of your uninkables. It's great in the mirror. And it can be good against anything, but for me it was a consistency card that I've gone to 0. But I do respect her as a card, and and now she is still popping up a lot in decks that are doing well. So I think if playing Ursula is like it gives you a better mid to late game and a less consistent early game, and sometimes you just want to roll the dice. We only see 3 Aladdin. We have the Brum package. I still think 4 Aladdin is always the play. Sometimes you're forced to ink. Even though you're running this Brum package, there's no guarantee you get a big Brum loop turn off. And sometimes even if you do, maybe you, in the situation, you have to prioritize the Elsas, the Maleficents, the Dragonfires, the Be Prepareds. So I think this should always be 4. But we see 4 Elsa, which I think is too many, honestly. Yeah. Again, preference, opinion. Because again, like we looked at top 8 Miami the other day, and there were 2 or 3 of those lists that were running the top count of Elsa. So purely my own opinion, I think 4 Elsa is probably too many. But we still do we see 68 cards, so it is balanced more. So yeah, 4 Elsa, definitely this deck definitely has a great mirror, like a fantastic mirror. I wonder if there's footage. I'd be really interested to see their top 4 game. We see 4 Maleficent, 4 Dragon's Fire. Again, with the Brum package, I think you could bring that down. But again, 68 cards, so understandable. 4 Friends, 4 Be Prepared, 2 Mirrors, 4 Cauldron, and again, 2 Pocket Watch, which I really like. So yeah, I really like a lot of this deck. I would probably go down to the 3 Elsa, make it 67 cards. Just, well, to be honest, no, I'd probably cut. If you want to keep that count of, you've got 4 Elsa, 2 Ursula, I would probably cut one Ursula. I think else is probably a little bit better. So yeah, I would like a cut there somewhere, one or the other. I do think 4 cauldrons too many, but I respect it. I'm all about it. I would like to party with this person. They definitely know how to have a good time. Cauldron, it's all about the cauldron. Yeah, nice list. I'd like to know why 3 Archimedes, what 3 Olaf, what brought them to that decision. If you have any speculation, educate me in the comments. But other than that, list looks a lot of fun. Looks like it has a fantastic mirror. So yeah, congratulations on the 4th place finish. Okay, take a sigh of relief, those of you, the Ruby Amethyst haters, as we look at Amber Sapphire. So we see 4 Stitch, 4 Simba, 4 Grand Martala, 4 Phonetiic, all pretty standard, like, as far as I'm concerned. Phonetiic puts in a lot of work, and there's no need to explain why the rest of these cards are here, and obviously the 4 Rockstar Stitch later on. So yeah, yes. 4 Maximus, yeah. Maximus has proved himself like one of the cards that I slightly underrated when I first looked at, but yeah, he has proved his worth. 4 Mickey, 4 Hades, 4 Rapunzel, one of the best cards in the game. Arguably the best card in the game. 4 of the other Maximus, the bodyguard one. I like to see it. We don't see it just in time, and I do agree with that. I think it's a bit of a high roll card. Only 2 Aurora. I would like to see a high count here, to be honest. 4 Rockstar Stitch, 4 Robin Hood, 4 Surfer Stitch, 4 Hades, 4 Be Our Guest, 4 Let It Go, 4 Eye of the Fates. Yeah, it looks really clean, looks consistent. I'd like to see 3 Eye of the Fates and at least 1 more Aurora. And to be honest, I'd probably even go as far as 3 Eye of the Fates and then cut one or the other Maximus and then go to 4 Aurora. I think if you're going to play it, like, you want to see it more and, like, you know, and be able to respond to one immediately being removed with another one. I think Ward can be really strong. So if you're going to play it, I think you should go a bit more all in on Aurora. Even if you're not going to play the one it shifts onto, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I would like a higher count. But other than that, looks clean. Looks like it gets in the game. Looks like it does what it wants to do a lot of the time. So congratulations. Oh, and a 68 card deck though. Hadn't mentioned that. Yeah, I even put it in the title so that I didn't forget. And lo and behold, I forgot. Yeah. I don't hate it though. Like, what's the uninkable count? 12 uninkables. Yeah. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't get in the game. You've got Rapunzel draw, you've got Robin Hood draw, you've got Stitch draw. Yeah. It's one of the first lists I've seen that isn't Ruby Amethyst, which is running a card count this high. Interesting. I might have to try this one out. Let me know what you think in the comments, but congratulations to them. Next up in 6th place, we have Steel Amber Songs. Looks pretty standard Steel Amber Songs. 4 Hook, 4 Prince Eric, 4 Ariel, 4 Tactician Tink, 2 Hades, 4 Rapunzel, 3 Hans, yep, 4 Beast, 2 Cerebrus, 4 Tinkerbell, 4 Surfer Stitch, 4 Smash, 3 You Have Forgotten Me, 4 Be Our Guest, 2 Part of Your World, 4 Hakuna Matata, and 4 Grab Your Swords. Yes, we saw a list do well in Miami of Steel Amber Songs, which was playing only 3 Ariel and only 2 Hakuna Matata, and that person actually ended up responding to, left a comment on my video of that and just talked about how the reason was like too many experiences of Ariel revealing characters that they really needed in the next couple of turns and then putting them at the bottom of the deck, and just left them a bit sour because of it, so they went to a lower count. But this one looks mostly pretty standard. We got a high beast count, so I can, well, they came 6th, so yeah, I imagine still just to get to top 8, this put in a shift against what seems like quite a high Ruby Amethyst field. I'd like to know what the whole field was in terms of colour usage, but a high beast count. I like the only 3 hands, only 2 Hades. This is 60 cards. 2 Cerebrus I think is fine for, yeah, I'm pretty happy with most of these counts, or pretty much, yeah. I don't see a count I'm unhappy with. 3 Have Forgotten Me, You Have Forgotten Me is probably right, as much as I don't want to admit it, because I would rather more people were playing 2. Or none! Stop playing You Have Forgotten Me! Ruby Amethyst players are not a fan until they get to like turn 10 and they have a 10 card hand. Yeah, stop playing it. But if you're gonna play it, you should probably play 3, because sometimes you have to ink it, and yeah, you want to get value from it because it can be really game changing. So yeah, 3 You Have Forgotten Me. Yeah, I like all of this. I'd probably still like to see 4 Hades, but again, the idea here is that we've got a very low uninkable count, and we're just always getting in the game. We've got the 4 swords, I'm just talking Zelda all of a sudden. We've got the 4 swords, we've got the 4 copies of Grab Your Sword, 2 part of your world, and then just 2 Hades. Yeah, I've not seen many Hades in Steel Amber Songs, but again, it's an extra part of your world, essentially, but in the form of a body. So yeah, looks good, looks interesting, looks like it did well, and it did, so congratulations to this person. Next up, we have 7th place, another Steel Amber Songs, but this isn't Steel Amber Songs complete. Well, it is, but it's an aggro version. So we've got 4 Making a Wish Lilo, okay, 4 Stitch, 4 Hook. We went with 3 Goons. So really, give me a play turn 1 and give me lots of targets for Stitch. 4 Simba and 4 of the other Simba, 4 Prince Eric, 4 Ariel, who can search for the 4 copies of Grab Your Swords and a whole new world. 3 Shifted Tink, which I think is fine as your cut if you want to go down, if you want to run 60 cards. 4 Rockstar Stitch, only 3 Big Tink, 4 Smash, 4 Be Our Get. Oh yeah, that's another song that Ariel can search for. And 3 Lantern. Yeah, this list looks like, I don't think Lantern goes in all Amber decks, but this one I like it very much so. Yeah, I still think I'd like the 4th Big Tink, especially in a whole new world deck. Yeah, I'm probably, even though I still do really like Lantern in this, I'm probably going to 2 Lantern to 4 Tink. But I say that as someone that I'm more experienced with Steel Amber Songs specifically. I'm not as tested with Lantern. So good chance that that's just lack of experience, and you know there's good reason to need the 3, just inherently with wanting to get the engine and the deck going. But yeah, if not that, then maybe 1 Goons, because you've still got a great early game. You've got a lot of targets for Stitch, and I just think Tinkerbell is just too important in too many situations. So yeah. Other than that, though, list looks very good. Looks like, again, you get in the game. Consistency is king. And in 8th place, we have 1 more Ruby Amethyst Control. A few different things to talk about, though, in this one compared to others. We went 64 cards, so it's nearly a toolbox. 4 Archimedes, 2 Broom, and we don't see the Mickey, which I'm a fan of personally, but I still think at least 3 Broom is necessary. Personally, especially because you need to ink 1 sometimes, even if reluctantly. Only 2 Gastons, so not the 4 that we're used to seeing. 4 copies of Elsa. I don't think any of the other Ruby Amethyst decks were running the Baby Elsa. I really like running Baby Elsa. I think like you want other ways of exerting the opposing characters and on top of just running your own big Elsa, who we do see a 4 count of again. 4 Maleficent, we see 4 Aladdin here, like big nice high number. We see 2 Zeus instead of Rafiki. We'll come back to that. We see 3 Goofy, who I really like. I'm running that in mine. 4 Maui, 4 Aladdin, 4 Elsa, as we said. I think it's too many personally, but again, it's consistently doing well as a 4 count, so happy to be wrong. 2 Mickey Mouse. I don't think the others are running Mickey, and yeah, sometimes like. I think Mickey as a 1 or 2 count is probably... The other day I said in the video, if you're going to run 1, there's probably not point running any. But the more I thought about it, I was like, no, to be honest, though, like, just a 1 or 2 is good just for the games where... Not necessarily... Like, it's good in the mirror. Although it's nearly always getting them instantly bombed. But that's not a bad thing because, you know, you lure out those Dragonfires, those Maleficents, those Be Prepared, things like that. But also just because against pretty much any other deck, you always go so behind in lore race. And you've got the Aladdin and the shifted Aladdin, which is great for the comeback mechanics. But sometimes you just need, you know, you're there at like 14, 15, 16 and you're edging your way and like you manage to get to 10. And then you're just like, right, okay, I've got like a Broom or an Archimedes or an Elsa on the field or a Maleficent. Okay, now I put down Mickey. Now I'm 2 turns from game. So sometimes it can be a really nice momentum swing and like you've slowly worked your way back and then suddenly you just dive into victory. So yeah, I like Mickey. For Maleficent, we see 2 Befuddle, which does excuse the lack of a Rafiki here. We see 4 Dragon's Fire, which if you're not going to run Mickey's, which I think it's right to not run Mickey's, and you're only running 2 Brooms, then 4 is probably right. 4 Friends on the other side, 4 Be Prepared. Only 1 Shield of Virtue, but we see no Queens. I still think this is such an important card, just for being able to get extra hits off with Aladdin or a second hit with Maui to clear a couple of like low strength things, or just to stop your opponent being out in the mirror being able to get easily get there, erase your board without the use of actual, like, be prepared, like, board wipe cards or elses and things like that. You don't want them just challenging and, like, getting rid of your stuff that easy. So I think Shield of Virtue is so important, but at least there's one here. 2 Magic Mirror is, I think, is the right count, although if I'm not running Queen, I'm probably running 3. I'm definitely cutting an Elsa here for a Magic Mirror. Definitely. 2 Cauldron I think is right, and 2 Pocket Watch I think should be minimum. I think it's 2, it should be 2 or 3. So Zeus mentioned this in, I'm not sure if it was Miami list, it might be in a different tournament top 8 deck list review that we did, but nonetheless I'll mention it again. The best advantage for Zeus, as well as just an extra way of being able to instantly respond to Kuzcos and Mad Hatters and a few other things that have that 4 willpower, and of course two Lord Pips is nice, but one of the best things about it is that it's because you are Challenger 4 and you only have 0 strength on your turn, it minimizes the ability for opponents to make big Rapunzel plays, because sometimes, like, that's a good reason for Ruby Amethyst to not be challenging or getting themselves into an exerted position until they've built up their own resources, because you don't want to allow the opponent okay, you've now got you've got something that I can challenge into and I can survive, and now I can Rapunzel, draw 2 or 3, which sometimes is then all they need to just get ahead of you. So that is like, it's a meta call, really. I like, because they're running the 2 Befuddle, and at least we do see the 4 Arkham. I think if you're going to go the Zeus route, though, I think you should probably have a higher one drop count, personally. But Zeus is a good meta call, again, for, like, against Steel Amber Songs or just Rapunzel in particular. So, yeah, and we do see Befuddles here. Like, if there were no Befuddles, I would really worry about the early game against aggro. But, yeah, they are here. So, yeah, I respect the Zeus. So, yeah, overall, this looks good. I like it. I would still like to see a -1 Big Elsa. And I'd like to see a 3rd Broom. I mean, there's a few things I'd like to see. I think Queens are really good. I think at the very least, you probably cut an Elsa here and you go either to a 2nd Shield or a 3rd Mirror. But again, because they're not running Mickey, they value their Elsas a lot more and want more access to them in the mirror. So nonetheless, this deck looks very good, and congratulations to them on an 8th place finish. And that's it for the top 8 deck lists for Atlanta. Once again, massive thank you to Phonetiic and their channel and their video for being a resource of information for me to be able to give my own thoughts on the lists. Thank you to Charlie's Collectible Show for putting on what seems to be a fantastic event. And again, big congratulations to all these players. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for more Lorcana content, like the video, and we'll see you soon. But yeah, we've got some really good deck lists to take a look at, so let's jump right in. What you doing? Huh? What do you need? Loving seeing Ursula shine here. So yeah, congratulations to this person on a great list and a 1st place finish. What's up, buddy? You coming here? You want to come up here? Come on then. Come on then. Up you come then. Come on then. Hades. What you doing? You want to come up? I'm afraid you won't have much luck climbing my green screen. It will fall over.